Top five, top five, top five.
Ladies and gentlemen, what is going on? Welcome to the countdown. We got a special edition for you today. The 2023 NFL Draft is coming up, so you know we had to do a mock draft, B.
Had to hit y'all with a top 5 NFL draft. We got a wild draft coming in. We might have a big trade, but you know there's a lot of quarterbacks that are projected to go in this first round. Rob, let's get underway, bro.
Yeah, a lot of quarterbacks, a lot of exciting players, so let's get right into it. And before we get into the countdown, go check out Fan Gear Nation for some great jerseys.
Not only do they got jerseys, but they got canvases for the wall, shirts, sweatshirts, and all of this for the low. But don't worry, we still got y'all with a discount code.
That's right. This is PSO's official merchandise partner, so you can use code PSO15 for 15% off your first order. So go type in fangearnation.com while those low prices are still available. Support your favorite squad and save a good amount of money while doing it.
And now, back to the countdown.
Starting out with number 5, the Seattle Seahawks are on the clock, getting that pick from Denver for that Russell Wilson trade. And who are they going with? None other than possibly the best overall player in this class, Will Anderson, the edge rusher out of Alabama, an absolute physical specimen. This guy doing it all. He has the film, he has the physical abilities, he has the intangibles, one of the leaders in that locker room, and just an overall guy who you know he's going to be a beast in the league. One of those Myles Garretts, one of those Bradley Chubbs, one of those edge rushers that you just know instantly is going to have success in the league, and the Seattle Seahawks are luckily going to get him at that 5th overall pick.
Wow, and we're talking about Will Anderson. This is somebody that could be the number 1 overall pick in plenty of drafts that's happened in the last decade. But obviously, this is a quarterback-heavy draft, and we're talking about somebody that has all the tools to be a perennial all-pro, like year after year after year type all-pro. And he has the body size, he has the length, he has the speed, and he's obviously has great game tape going against SEC opponents each and every single week. And this is why you just love like stories like Alabama and the Crimson Tide, because Will Anderson, if I'm not mistaken, I believe he was a 3-star. For him to go to Alabama, develop into one of the best prospects that we've seen in the last 10 years is just amazing. And it's just what a come up for him. And this is also just a great testament to John Schneider and Pete Carroll and what they do in Seattle, trading Russell Wilson out of there and being able to replace him, or not even replace him, but take some of that draft capital and turn it into Will Anderson at the number 5 pick. Is just an amazing job of using what you got and expanding it for the future.
Yeah, we went into John Schneider on that biggest surprises in the NFL last season episode, so go check that out. See what he did last year, continuing it this year, getting that great pick of Will Anderson at number 5. But that moves us on to number 4 with a little less of a high-quality pick, B, with the Colts taking Will Levis at quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really not – actually, I know exactly how to feel about Will Levis. I've watched plenty of SEC film, plenty of SEC games.
Tennessee fan right here.
Big Tennessee fan. And one thing that I haven't seen Will Levis is just the it factor in general. Obviously, when he goes back to his Penn State days, he was actually kind of the wildcat quarterback there behind Trace McSorley, and he got a lot of touches running the ball. And apparently he was injured last year, so we didn't get to see him use his legs as much as possible. But, I mean, this is a quarterback that's supposed to go top 5 in the draft. And when I see that, I don't want to see that many turnover-worthy plays. I don't want to see you scrambling and not having your feet set and throwing errant throws. And just when I see Will Levis, I don't see anything that's impressive enough for him to be a top 5 pick to me. And unfortunately, Indianapolis has had a massive quarterback carousel. And if they draft Will Levis, they could be looking for a quarterback next year and the year after that and the year after that. So hopefully Indy makes the smart move, but it could be dependent on what happens in front of them.
Right. This mock draft isn't about necessarily what Brandon and I would do in the GM position, but what we think is going to happen. And there's a lot of reports the Colts are looking into Will Levis, which makes sense because they have that quarterback carousel, and obviously quarterbacks are going to be taken before they get to number 4. But Will Levis going to the Colts could have major ramifications for that franchise. And you talked about the negatives, but there are some positives when it comes to Will Levis. He does have a lot of physical attributes that are on his side. Very strong arm, great mobile ability, underrated actually. And this past year, not a great platform year going into the draft, but he was injured. His offensive line was injured. He was losing a lot of weapons, facing those great defense. A lot of reasons why he didn't have as much success as he potentially could last year and potentially could have in the future, playing for the Colts in that division that, other than the Jaguars, you don't really know what other teams are going to be in the next few years. And so if Will Levis does reach his potential, which is very high, he could be a major success for Indianapolis, could bring them what Andrew Luck brought them back in the day of giving that stability at the quarterback position, the most important position in all of sports. So if you're going to have that top 5 pick, if you see a top prospect who might be worth it, you got to go take a shot. And so if the Colts have interviewed Will Levis, because a lot of the quarterback position, it's all up here. It's all the intangibles, the leadership, the ability to break down defenses, read what's going on the defensive side of the ball and make the right decisions. We saw him not make some great decisions this past year, but if they can get that straightened up, if they believe in that new coaching staff and can put him in the right position to succeed, maybe actually get him some weapons that the quarterbacks of the last few years haven't had, with T.Y. Hilton kind of declining. Michael Pittman really the only guy that might scare anyone out there at the receiver position at least. Obviously, Jonathan Taylor might finally get healthy. So if you give him some weapons, if you teach him up a little bit, you put the right system in place, get him a solid O-line that doesn't get banged up, Will Levis does have the potential to succeed, so that's what we're going to see in Indianapolis going forward.
Yeah, and the NFL is a make-or-miss league, and I think that you see past drafts, and it has an impact on future drafts. We saw Josh Allen slide to number 7,
right,
and there was a lot of questions about Josh Allen that might be a little similar to what we're seeing from Will Levis. You know, he has the arm strength, you know he has the mobility, but you saw a lot of turnover-worthy plays, and there was just a little bit of uneasiness between both of those prospects as they were coming into the NFL draft, and teams don't want to miss out on the next Josh Allen. And so if you think Will Levis is the guy, maybe the Colts do, you got to pull the trigger on him. So we'll see what happens.
Absolutely, and that's kind of similar to this next draft pick at number 3. The Arizona Cardinals trade the pick to the Las Vegas Raiders, trading up from number 7, going to get Anthony Richardson out of Florida. Absolutely a physical specimen this guy is. When you talk about what he did at the combine, setting quarterback record after quarterback record, and it's not just when he was wearing tights in that combine outfit, he was doing it on the field too, flashing that mobile ability, spin moving off guys, breaking tackles, showing his arm ability. I mean, that one play in the red zone, it gets brought up all the time, but it was an electric play when he pump faked it, spun out, found the guy, made the play. It's those type of plays that you see quarterbacks in the league making today that you really didn't see much of 10, 15, 20 years ago. That's what you want out of your quarterback, and he has that sky-high potential, that he has that ability to make those plays. Just comes down to consistency with them, so it'll be interesting to see how that works out in Vegas.
Yeah, Anthony Richardson is a very, very interesting prospect. I mean, he's only started one season in college football, but we saw how electric he could be with his legs and even his arms. But obviously, when you only play one season in college football, it might take a year or two to develop, or it might take a year to sit behind somebody.
Right.
And the Raiders have that in Jimmy Garoppolo, who they signed this offseason.
No doubt.
So it could be a really good position for him to go in. And when you think about the Raiders, you think about Al Davis and the draft picks that he's made it like before he wound up passing away. And he goes after speed, after speed, after speed. He loves speed guys, and he was known for taking speed guys early in the draft. Darius Hayward-Bays and Henry Ruggs, and he just wasn't shying away from that. And at the end of the day, Al Davis's goal was to be back in the spotlight, like when they were the LA Raiders. And his son made it happen by sending them to Las Vegas, and obviously things haven't been very bright under those lights. So if there's one way to get those seats filled and have a lot of excitement going into the next season, you get a guy that's built like Cam Newton, and you put him behind center and let him run the ball and throw the ball 80 yards down the field, and a lot of excitement could come to Las Vegas. So why not trade up and go and get your guy? 4'4", 6'5", 250 pounds, scary prospect.
It's
very
enticing.
Very enticing.
Yeah, one of the most exciting prospects in the draft, going to one of the most exciting cities. Could be a perfect marriage. We'll see if that trade does take place. But at number 2, there's going to be no trade this time because the Houston Texans are going to get their guy, probably who we both think is the best overall quarterback in this draft, in Bryce Young out of Alabama. You look at the film, he does a lot of great things, B.
Yeah, I mean, just a savvy player. I mean, who cares if he's only 5'10"? Kyler Murray's 5'10". And obviously Kyler Murray hasn't been the MVP caliber quarterback that me and Rob know that he both can be, that we know he can be. But, I mean, you talk about a guy that has savvy, has the pocket awareness, has the ability to make off-platform throws, did it at a very high level at Alabama. So we're really worried about a guy that played at one of the highest levels that you can fucking play in the SEC.
Yeah.
And even though, the NFL is a different monster, if he was able to see over 6'5", 6'7" linemen and see over huge defensive ends and stuff like that, I think he has a chance to be able to make those same exact reads in the NFL. And for him going to Houston, he'll have some familiar faces. They have, that receiver, John Mechie, who obviously missed last season. I think he had cancer. So he has some familiar faces there, and I think it would be a place that he could really thrive.
Yeah, and we talk about Bryce Young and C.J. Stroud in another episode, the top quarterbacks available this offseason. And one of the things we said in that episode is just how Bryce Young is able to do it inside the pocket. He's able to do it outside the pocket. He's able to do it with his legs, with his arms. There's really not a play on the field that Bryce Young can't make. And so giving that to a team that is in as much desperation as any team in the league, I mean, what really do they have in place from a cornerstone standpoint? It's not much. They finally got a running back who might be that, but we know the running back position can fluctuate all over the place. So if they get that guy in Bryce Young who can be their leader for the next 15, 20 years, maybe not go down the path Deshaun Watson went and actually, behave himself well off the field and be the leader on or in and out of the locker room, which we've seen Bryce Young already show great progress in from a mental and tangible standpoint. When you evaluate the quarterback position, it's so important to look at what they had around them from a weapon standpoint and also the competition that they were facing when you're evaluating these guys. And with Stroud and Bryce Young, both of them, when they played the best competition in the Georgia Bulldogs, the two-time reigning champions, Bryce Young came to play. Bryce Young was out here dropping dimes, out here making plays, almost, single-handedly alongside Jamison Williams, his receiver, led them to that victory in the SEC championship. Didn't have as much success in the national championship, but a lot of that had to do with, again, looking at what's around him, some drops, some not quality receivers. Didn't have the great supporting cast in his most recent year this year, which is why you kind of saw a dip in production. Had a couple injuries, which is going to be his big concern with the size. Is he going to be durable enough? Can he handle the 17-game schedule? All of those things. Those are legitimate concerns for an NFL franchise to consider. That's why he probably won't go number one, at least in this mock draft. But if he does play, if he is on the field, if he is putting on that jersey, Bryce Young is going to come to play, and he's going to do his thing and turn that Houston Texans franchise right around.
Yeah, Bryce Young's a very easy quarterback to evaluate. The only thing that's difficult is obviously his size. But when you talk about Bryce Young, you can talk about so many different things. You can talk about accuracy. You can talk about the ability to extend plays. You can talk about decent arm strength. You can talk about so many different things that there's something that are hard to hone in when it comes to him. And he's just really just the overall safest player in this draft on the offensive side of the ball.
No doubt. But he fell to number 2 for a reason, because the Carolina Panthers already made the trade with the Chicago Bears to move up to number 1 to go and get their guy, C.J. Stroud, who it seems like Frank Wright is already falling in love with, the new head coach in Carolina. They want to put your coach and quarterback in a position to succeed, because those are the two most important pieces to any franchise having success. We saw that with the Patriots, Belichick, Brady, getting those 6 Super Bowl championships. We're seeing it now with Andy Reid and Mahomes. The quarterback coach is such an important combo in sports, and when they went and got Frank Wright, that was their decision to make. Whether it's a good one or bad one, when you get that coach, you got to get the guy who he wants a quarterback, and it's making it clear that he wants C.J. Stroud, who was still able to put a lot of good things on tape, like Bryce Young, extending some plays, especially in that game against Georgia in the semifinals. And he has great accuracy, was making dimes all over the place throughout his college career. But he's a little bigger. He could be a little more durable. He could handle some more hits that Bryce Young couldn't. So there's a reason why the Panthers could go and get C.J. Stroud. And really with both these guys, they're franchise-changing players. They're going to come in right away, compete for the Rookie of the Year, compete possibly for future MVP awards or playoff appearances, all those things, because both these guys have a lot of talent, they have a lot of potential, and they could do a lot of things in the city that takes them.
Yeah, C.J. Stroud, you just look at him, he looks like an NFL quarterback.
Yeah.
Beautiful arm delivery, just throws nothing but dots throughout the whole side of the field. And I might have just said that Bryce Young is the safest quarterback in this draft, but when you think about his size, C.J. Stroud has to be the safest quarterback in this draft, and that's probably why he's going to go number 1 to Frank Reich, a quarterback coach that has a lot of history of having bigger quarterbacks on the sideline alongside of him. And, you know, you just talk about C.J. Stroud, you turn on that Georgia film, and it's just hard not to fall in love with a quarterback that has that size, that arm strength, that accuracy, that arm delivery. I mean, he's just the perfect quarterback prospect in that sense. And unfortunately, you don't see it every game from C.J. Stroud on the tape at Ohio State. You don't see him running around. You don't see him creating a lot of mobility. But what you did see in the biggest stage, in the biggest game, you saw him bring out every single trick and do it effortlessly against one of the greatest defenses in college football history. And as just looking at C.J. Stroud as a prospect, I think it's hard to not understand why Frank Reich and that franchise would target him at number 1.
Yeah, so the Carolina Panthers, with the number 1 overall pick, could go and get their guy, C.J. Stroud, and that is the PSO 2023 NFL mock draft, with the draft right around the corner. Really looking forward to it. We'll see if our picks come to play. You can go and make your own mock draft as well. You can go to Pro Sports Outlook at the link and go and make your own. Leave a comment. Let us know what you think. You think we put him right? You think Bryce Young should go number 1? So C.J. Stroud fall? Should the Colts take fucking Will Levis? Let us know what you think. And definitely see us next time for another episode of The Countdown.
But before you go, make sure you smash that subscribe button and hit that like, because we're coming back every single week. So we'll see y'all next time.
Every week, bringing the heat, baby. Let's go.
Let's get it.
See you next time.